This is an evil question. Really mean what they're doing. If you look at it, different words, different kind of vocabulary, it seems like it's about style, right? The choices seem to just be like, okay, well, what's the best way of saying what we want to say? However, there's a rule here. This is a grammar question. And I don't know that I would know that myself without having like really, looked at the sentence and this question. It's really tricky. We're going to use the same rule that we used for question number 21 on this test. Okay, it was about modifiers. And so I recommend, either pausing and going back to that video if you didn't watch it, or watching it after this one, because number 21 is a much more traditional way that the SAT tests modifier placement. And a modifier, remember, is just a kind of description of something. It's not itself a sentence, but it's some little extra description that we use to clarify something in a sentence. But we need to make sure that the description is right next to the thing it's describing. So in number 21, that description was at the beginning of the sentence, and then we followed the comma with the thing that we were describing. Here, they're doing it in a very mean way. So where is the description? It's right here. Let me highlight it. That little piece in parentheses is a description. Now, maybe the one way I would be clued into that to know that that piece is the important thing that they're testing here is because I've done so many writing sections and writing questions. Parentheses are unusual on the SAT. They're weird. And a lot of times when something is weird, it's important. So that's my way of kind of knowing, hey, pay attention to that, is I'm just like, well, that's weird. I don't see parentheses very often. In this case, it's a description of something. It's a definition, right? Fuels derived from once living materials. And in question 21, we turned our description into a question, and the answer to the question was the thing that needs to be right up next to that description. So what is the question here? Is what are fuels derived from once living materials? So what are these fuels? Well, they're biofuels. So that's our answer. Let's put that in green here. Biofuels. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that that word biofuels is as close to the description, the definition, as possible. So right now you can see there's some extra stuff after it. In fact, the way that choice A reads, it makes it seem like the study is the thing that we're talking about. Let me read it out loud. A group of engineering students from the University of California at San Diego, for example, tried to find a method to make their biofuel combustion study, fuels derived from once living material, free of the drawbacks researchers face on Earth. Makes it seem like it's the study that's getting this definition, but that's not what we mean. It's the biofuels. So if we know that, we can kind of very quickly look at the choices and see that there's only one answer that's going to put biofuels right next to those parentheses, and that's choice D, and that is the answer. Now, does it sound better? Maybe a little bit. A group of engineering students from the University of California at San Diego, for example, sought a method to study combustion of biofuels, fuels derived from once living material, free of the drawbacks researchers face on Earth. Sounds a little better. I think the problem, and the reason people get this wrong, is that word sought. They don't love that word. For some reason, it just has a kind of harsh sound to it. And so they avoid choice D because they don't like that word. They'd much rather use something like tried to find, which means the exact same thing as sought. But it's a little safer. It's a little more comforting. It's more like what you would say yourself in a conversation. Yeah, evil question, I told you. So they're not only are they testing a weird rule, but they're testing the weird rule in a weird way. And they're throwing that word or sought in there to mess with you and to keep you from picking the right answer, because they know that if you are just going by sound, D is not going to sound good. And so that's why we, get back to this idea of like we need to memorize grammar rules. And we need to be able to use that knowledge to help us predict the question so that we can get our brain on the right track. If we can notice that this is testing a grammar rule, we can apply the rule and get it right 100% of the time, and we don't care how it sounds because we care that it followed the rule. If we don't get our brain on that track, though, I think this is a lot harder. It's a really tough question. It's really mean. So I would go back and look at number 21. Like I said, I do think that that video really captures the essence of the rule and the thing that we normally would see on the SAT. And then this question is just kind of taking it and twisting it up in a really mean way. But that's what makes me like the question. It's original. It's different. Just goes to show why the rules are so important, so that you can be ready when they twist the rules up on you.